First off, thank you very much for joining the session today. I really appreciate it. And just wanted to introduce myself. Again, Subbiah Sundaram. I run products for HYCU. I'm based out of our Boston office. Appreciate you, all of you guys are joining from different parts of the world. Thank you very much. I've had the fortune of being with HYCU from the start of HYCU. So if you guys have questions, things like that, ask me any question, and I can tell you about all of our history, journey, what we're doing, where we're going, all that stuff, something there. So very happy to talk about it. Quick thing about this series. This is a series of sessions we are doing because this is a request from many of our customers because customers have joined us at different points in time, and they've been saying, hey, I know at some time, I know you from time A, what have you done, what's going on, things like that. So that's one of our objectives behind it. We talked about cyber resiliency. We have done two in this particular series. The cyber resiliency and disaster recovery, we actually had sessions already. These two are recorded sessions, and you can actually see it. You will actually see Petra post the recording shortly in the chat. If you guys have not had it, please do ask us, and we'll be happy to send that particular one. Those are two things. Today, we're going to cover the third topic, which is complete protection. Nutanix is a huge platform, and we'll talk about it as what we are doing and why it matters to customers. My goal is not to be a marketing thing here. I just want to share why and what are some of the things people are doing. If you guys want me to go into specific areas, ask me to tell more, things like that, let me know, and I'm happy to jump in, right? But I want to keep it short. I will try to go a little fast. If I'm not clear, one of the problems is I sometimes talk too fast. If I'm not clear, please tell me to slow down during the chat, and happy to actually follow that. Again, today's the third topic. First off, to start with, HYCU, we deliver our cloud. Our cloud is a platform. We cover our goal is to cover their entire data estate. What do we mean by data estate? We want to cover your on-prem infrastructure, your public cloud infrastructure, and your SaaS infrastructure. That's the thing we are trying to get to. So that's the entire R cloud. Obviously, there are different flavors of it. We have two flavors at macro level. People ask me. One is what we call self-hosted, where it's run in the customer's infrastructure. That is there. And the second one is where it's delivered as a SaaS, complete, fully managed offering. And it's what you call backup as a service, you can call it. And it's run, and that's what we offer. So there are two different models here. We have over 86 workloads protected today. And very happy to talk more about it, but my goal is not to spend time on that today. Just wanted to refresh people's mind. My goal today is to talk about Nutanix. It's near and dear to our heart. I'll tell you a little bit as I go to the next slide too. I'll tell you a little more about why it's special for us. Nutanix, the way HYCU internalizes Nutanix is a platform. It is not a single product, it's a platform. Why do I say that? Nutanix has tons of capability. And the question is that how do we actually, because as you guys as customers, when you decide to go to a platform, the reason you go to a platform is you want to use all of the capability. You might not use all of them today. So I probably use only 3 of them. That's okay. You start with, most of the customers start in some, but they want to have the optionality of being able to use all of the other services. So the key thing is that whenever you're choosing a data protection solution, you have chosen something because you want to be able to, you don't want the data protection to slow you down. That's our goal for customers. Again, my goal is not to sell you, but I want to tell you that with HYCU, it gives you the optionality of being able to leverage HYCU to protect any of your workloads. If you decide to try any of the other HYCU and Nutanix capability, we should be able to support you. That is the goal here. The thing, I'll tell you a little bit about our history. Nutanix has been a big proponent of NPS. HYCU, we started about 5 years ago or so, something like that. And we learned it from Nutanix just to start with, because they were big on that. And we said, we got to do that. And it's been very, very helpful for us. One of the things we pride ourselves, our net promoter score is 91. It's given by customers like you. We don't take it lightly. I'll tell you, it is not easy to maintain the 91. We have to do everything to keep our customers happy. And that is something we truly wanted, and that's something we are there, and we are very proud of it, but it's never said and done. If we can do things better, always let us know. Happy to jump in, right? That's there. The thing about military grade security, one of the things I want to emphasize here is that we want to make sure our customers' data is safe. That's one of the reasons, as you know, a lot of other people are starting to produce Linux-based appliances, things like that. We have a hardened infrastructure right from the get-go. And this is something just to give you the confidence that this is being used by a lot of the armed forces. And when I say armed forces, US Navy, Air Force, all the branches of the US military, and not just US military, this is a lot of other people. Not to say that it's nothing to do with hype, that particular one. The whole idea that I want to say is that I want to give you the confidence that it's built to be secure. That is something there. We are the only ones who have the disaster and a bunch of other things. And some of you look at Nutanix validated blueprints, designs, things like that. We are part of that. We were one of the early adopters of Nutanix's integration there and certification, and that's something we actually have. Just a quick rundown. This is for some of you who've been with us for a long time. This is a repeat. I'm sorry, but I want to just share something there. HYCU was the first data protection vendor to build backup and recovery for AHV. This is back in 2017, we did that. And people thought we were crazy because at that time, when we originally came out, we only did backup and recovery for AHV. But that is something customers loved it because for Nutanix AHV, this was the best solution that time and even today. I'm very happy to say that. We've delivered the simplicity there, and that's something we do. That's what starts with AHV. Then obviously we have all the VMware, not just AHV and the VMware. For people who are thinking about VMware on Nutanix, even today, a large number of Nutanix customers do run VMware on Nutanix. So people say, what's special about HYCU? One thing in that particular world for people to remember is that one of the reasons you guys bought Nutanix is for the snapshot capability, right? Because Nutanix snapshots are very powerful. The benefit of using HYCU along with Nutanix to protect your VMware infrastructure, in addition to AHV, is that we make sure you don't have any stuns. That is something there. I just want to make sure you'll not have any VM stuns. That is a capability you will actually do. This is actually, we do the same thing for AHV and we also do for VMware. Something to actually note about. And HYCU, so I don't know how many of you use something called volume groups. These are, especially if you have clustered application, people use volume group. HYCU can actually protect your volume group. Something for you to remember, especially people who have clustered application like clustered SQL, things like that. Or like, for example, some customers run Epic and it's a shared database in model, things like that. We can actually support it out of the gate. Oh, I probably also mentioned, when Nutanix came out with Nutanix Files, if people are using Nutanix Files, if you can put it on the chat or the Q&A telling, hey, I use Nutanix Files, I would really appreciate it. The reason I called it out is that when Nutanix came out with Nutanix Files, or at that time it's called AFS, some of you might remember, HYCU was the first one to work with, we had the fortune of working with Nutanix to build their what's called change file tracking API. We are the pioneer vendor. We actually worked with them and built the APIs, and we are the first one to do it. The key thing when you do a file system backup, I'll tell you, it's the scale. How do you scale along with Nutanix? The reason you guys love Nutanix is because it scales out as you need, right? We had to protect it the same way. That is why our system is built to scale along with Nutanix and be able to protect. In addition to Nutanix completely, as you guys know, we also protect NetApp and Isilon and so on too, or Isilon or called PowerScale these days, and do that. So, but I just want to let you know. This is something, in addition to that, we also support Nutanix objects, not just as a backup target, but also as a backup source. That's something to, again, we can back up objects as well as backup to objects. That's something there. That's something we have actually done. Goes on and on. We have actually done quite a lot of things with working with Nutanix across the board there. One of the things which we actually also want to call out is one of the recent one is Nutanix NDB. I don't know how many of you are using NDB. Let us know, and happy to actually, that's something I'll cover in a follow-on slide too. That's just to give you the confidence about when you guys invest in a platform, the goal is to make sure you cover the entire breadth. Again, the idea is any capability you're using, we should be able to support. That's what we actually have. If there are things missing in what you are using, please do let us know. We pride ourselves in having the broadest coverage for Nutanix. If something is missing, it's our flaw. We should actually fix it. Yep, that is something there. Okay, I'm going to talk about Nutanix NAS, or the Nutanix Unified Storage. Protecting the Nutanix NAS, which is like, I just want to make sure there are two ways. Nutanix NAS, as you guys know, many of you know, contains the block storage, the file storage, and object storage, right? And what we have done here is that we have built along with Nutanix, the great thing is we have an excellent partnership with Nutanix. We are one of the strategic partners, and they have been very, very open to with us on providing the right set of APIs, working with us, partnering with us on building the APIs, as well as one of the funny things is that they use HYCU internally in Nutanix to test their APIs on a continuous basis as they do that, because HYCU is a lightweight infrastructure. They can run right inside their infrastructure in house and then be able to do that. That is something which we do, and that is something they actually have done, right? This is, again, we built it along with it. That's why sometimes when people used to look at our UI, they say, oh, it looks very similar to Prism. Yes, because we try to learn a lot of them for them and they have shared knowledge across the board. That is something there. And our goal is to keep it simple. It's very similar to them. Our goal is saying, how do you take the entire complexity and simplify it for you? That's something we have done. In the first session, when we talk about cyber resilience, I talked about it, but I'll emphasize here. When HYCU is the only solution today in the market which leverages Nutanix snapshots, not just for backup, but also for recovery. Not just for recovery, also for cyber resiliency, or essentially being also including fast recovery, being able to do fast scanning across the data or continuous malware scanning, things like that. We are the only ones who do that. That is something there. Again, it's a little bit of a brag there, but the whole idea is for you as a customer, it's a tremendous value. These are capabilities built in, we automatically manage it, but that is a big benefit there. If anything it's not clear, let me know, happy to do that. With regards to Nutanix, it's a platform itself. As you guys know, traditionally people think of Nutanix as running the file systems there, but as you know, Nutanix is much more than that. They also have files and objects and things like that. And with a single instance of HYCU, you can actually back up all of them across the board. And the good thing is that HYCU can scale along with your Nutanix, so you can start small and grow. Our entire goal is to keep our footprint really, really light. That way, we don't become a burden on you when you do the management. That is something there. Again, you are the customer. You guys actually are better experts than us. So if you guys see things we can optimize, please do let us know. One of the things we always look for is feedback from customers. That's something there. So that's with regards to the files and objects and the volumes. Now, as I said in the prior one, in the volumes case, if you end up using volumes, especially in clustered applications, HYCU is the only one. If I don't know how many of you are using things like Epic, we can do an excellent job of protecting your Epic or shared clusters, or if you have shared databases, things like that. Absolutely, we can do that. Yeah. Okay, switching topic. This is around Nutanix NDB. Again, if some of you are using NDB, I would really appreciate if you could put it on the chat regarding how many of you are using NDB. For people who are not familiar, looks like thank you. Some of you have raised your hand and talk about it. Appreciate it. Thank you. So for people who actually are using NDB, for not using NDB, sorry for the people, but not using NDB, NDB is Nutanix's attempt to make sure they can actually create a database as a service, meaning when customers, their end users want to create a new database on the fly, go click, create, and they start using it. And then it provides them all of the ability to spin up, spin down very quickly, very similar to a public cloud. That is essentially bringing the public cloud capability on-prem, just in case you guys are not familiar with. Thanks to people already using it, and I hope I did justice to that. So now let's talk about the backup itself, right? One of the beauty of Nutanix's NDB or Nutanix database is that they have what's called a time machine. If something goes bad, they can flip back to quickly to use their snapshots to bring back to their database to a good state. People, when they look at it, they say, hey, Nutanix actually has time machine. Why do I need a backup? That's where we partnered with Nutanix, and we wanted to make sure to give you the full picture. So the whole idea is that, as you know, there are different different problems. You guys as managers of your data for your organization know this thing, right? You always start from, oh my God, there's a database error, somebody deleted a file or did something corruption in the database, things like that. That is one set of things. Then all the way from cyber attacks to long-term archival to company product, especially once you start going production, you have a huge range of requirements, right? That's why HYCU complements what's there in Nutanix. We're not trying to say, oh, don't use time. No, 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 that's a wrong thing to, if you were to say that. Time machine is a great value, use it. But the question is that you have additional needs, and that's why you have to complement these two together. That's why we talk about NDB. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense for people as why we do that. If you think about for NDB, this is built into the Nutanix platforms you guys are using, so it's not a special thing here. The way we wanted to, because our entire goal is to say, make it simple, automatically discover, automatically help manage, help the customer manage it. That is something we do, right? The whole idea is that this is something I'm very happy to say that we were the first one to actually have an NDB backup solution. The reason is that, again, we trust the Nutanix platform. We've been working with them for ages, and we have an excellent partnership. We worked with the engineering team on saying, how do we complement, how do we make sure the integration is seamless for customers? We were the first one to pioneer on that, and that's something we have done. And as always with HYCU, there is no agents or anything like that. We use only the Nutanix API. Everything what we do is official APIs. People say, what's the big deal about that? The reason we want to make sure is that if you use scripts and things like that, the possibility of breaking is much, much higher. If you use the API, we are integrated into the Nutanix core, and any changes we get automatically reflected on that particular one. That is something there. Again, the one-click simplicity continues to be there. When we talk about it, just a little double click on the NDB, I'll probably build it and I'll tell you about it. There's something there. People then ask us saying, hey, what's complicated about this thing? Tell me more. The first one is that Nutanix NDB provides the time machine. People want to do a backup. Now the question is, how do you backup? There were lots of people who are doing manual copy of the snapshots onto different things like that. The problem is that as soon as you do manual process, you know that initially a couple of them is okay, but large thing, it's not a scalable model. That's one part. The second one, you don't have to write your own scripts and things like that. That is there because it's again built into HYCU right there. It automatically recognizes your databases which you have created using NDB. It is not the one-time setup, as all of you guys know. Why do people even go to NDB? Maybe I should go back to that. The reason people love NDB is because your DBAs don't have to wait for the infrastructure people. They can go create a database, boom, on the fly, use it, and then. That sounds fantastic, right? The problem is that how do you take care of backups for them if they don't? That's where you wanted to have a complete automation, right? That's why this tightly integrated infrastructure makes it a lot more easy, right? And because there's no manual thing, and we automatically continuously keep polling the system for new databases. And as soon as it comes, we recognize, we understand what kind of database it is, what infrastructure it's there, and so on. And with regards to just not the initial one, it's also about recovery at the end of the day. That's why you guys are using a solution. And the question is that how do you actually help recover? With NDB, the recovery becomes even more, little more complicated unless if you do it manually, it becomes very complicated because there are multiple steps, right? There's core Nutanix infrastructure, which is all your snapshots and disks and things like that, your VMs, and then you have your database specific configuration and you have NDB, right? Bunch of them. We have to make sure when you recover, do the right things. And that's what we have actually built in working with Nutanix. We have created a seamless recovery. You recover, it automatically recognizes it. Yeah, I hope I gave you the context of why NDB is something there. In case you guys are using it, the best solution there. Nutanix clusters. I don't know how many of you are using Nutanix Cloud Clusters. Nutanix NC2, as it's called. The beauty of Nutanix clusters, as you guys know this more than us, is that people want to actually have a disaster recovery and they want to have it cost efficient on any of the public cloud. HYCU complements what Nutanix does in this particular case, right? If you want to spin up something on the public cloud, you want to make sure you have the data. HYCU can actually spin up to get you the data there when you need it. That is something there, right? And we can provide you air gap immutability, all the scanning capability, make sure the data is safe, all that stuff. That is something which we actually have. And it's completely, you guys know the benefits of HYCU, the simplicity, the policy management, all that stuff, something there. The good thing here is that we could do this across any of the public clouds, be it Google, be it it's AWS or Azure today. And as you guys know, the Nutanix did announce the Google, and we are working with them on their Google infrastructure too. So that's, as you guys, depending on which cloud you go to, you will actually have it. The second thing, an important thing, is that you're not stuck to a particular cloud. With Nutanix and HYCU, you can move the data, copy the data, have it in a cloud, and have it in, could be even in Wasabi, have it in any other external storage, or it could be in one of your in Dell storage, or whichever storage you actually choose to. You can have it, and as needed, HYCU can spin up the data onto that particular cloud you choose to. That's, again, we support all of these services of Nutanix, and all of them can now be available on the cloud. That's the beauty of doing this thing. People who, for different reasons, some people start on the cloud and NC2 run on NC2. If that's what you choose, we can support it. The other people, what they do is that they want to use purely as a disaster recovery. We can support that case too. That is, I don't know how many of you have played with NC2, but if you have not, I encourage you to do that. If you don't have DR, especially if you don't have DR, it is a very good way to actually for you to be able to do that. Yep. So that's a quick some of the things. So just to want to recap before I go through this thing. You can actually support, obviously, Nutanix VMs running on AHV or ESX. You guys know that. The second is Nutanix volumes. I talked about it. You can actually use for any other clustered application. You guys actually, we talked about Nutanix Files, which actually, especially if you guys are using scale-out file system, we can actually scale along with you. If you scale up, we'll scale up. If you scale down, you can scale down. That is something there. And then we talked about NDB. If you can actually do that, that is something we can actually do that too. I don't know how many of you are backing up your objects. HYCU can help you back up the objects in case you guys are not doing it. When I talk about backing up objects, sometimes people say, why would you back up an object? Isn't it a backup target? There are two reasons. You can actually, people use object storage as backup, absolutely a choice one. The other reason sometimes people end up using is that the first copy of the data is in object storage. For example, some of the new next generation applications, the only copy they keep is an object storage. That becomes production primary copy. So what the customers want to make sure is to have multiple copies of that, because in case something bad happens, they don't want to lose it. There have been instances people have lost it. So that's one of the reasons they do that. And we can actually help you with that. That's something, some customers do that. That's something that I'll give you a real example. One of the insurance companies, all the scanned images actually are stored in the primary, is stored in the object storage. And when they want to do it, they want to make sure when they protect their application, all the object storage is also backed up. That is something there. So that's a quick down. And then NC2 gives you the flexibility of moving to any cloud anywhere. So you're not stuck to one thing. You have the choice of running on-prem infrastructure, public cloud infrastructure, hosted infrastructure, a variety of them there. That is something we do. Right. The last part I'll mention, again, I want to keep this short. I'm not going to bore you with details. You guys know this thing. We have talked about it. Most of you are, like 98% of you are in the most rightmost column. You have data spread across all of them. As I started the thing, you want to be able to see the entire estate, protect all of them. This is one of my marketing guys wanted to put it. I just want to make sure to let you know that we can protect all of your workloads across the board. It's there. Many of you say, I don't care about all of this stuff. It's probably true, but your organization is worried about it. At least let your people know in case they need it. There is no other vendor who supports the breadth of some of the stuff there. We are happy to help you with it. Just wanted to make sure you know about it. One thing, if you want to see a demo, you can schedule it. You have the QBR, and I think Petra will probably post the link to. You can actually schedule a demo there. The thing which I'll tell you, one last thing I'll probably mention to you, please do actually consider this thing. In case you scanned your infrastructure to figure out what applications you're running, there is a no charge thing called rgraph. Please do run it. It'll give you a quick view on what application, SaaS application you guys actually have. I've had customers who initially thought they run few applications. When they run this rgraph, they figured out they had hundreds of them in that particular infrastructure. Because it's not something, SaaS is not something you do deal at day and day, but this will actually get you that. So that's a quick rundown. It's not, my goal was not to bore you. The whole idea, just simple message I wanted to let you know is that if you are using Nutanix, please do make sure you are using all of the different Nutanix services. They provide tremendous amount of values, and HYCU can actually help you complement that, because we protect all of Nutanix services are at least the best coverage today. And if you're missing something, as I mentioned earlier, we love hearing from customers. Send us an email to info@hycu.com and tell us, hey, what you want. or put it in chat, and happy to actually provide you more details, right? That's something which I wanted to actually make sure to let you know. Any questions, comments, I'm here to answer. Um, if not, again, thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate you joining us for today. I hope it was value. Please do send us share your feedback. We love to hear and see what we can do better and what information we can provide you. Cool. So there was a question regarding R Shield, and the thing is that yes, R Shield actually leverages Nutanix's snapshot capability. The way we end up doing is that the way we end up doing is when somebody wants to do scanning, we continuously scan for every new backup. We leverage the snapshots, we mount the snapshots, and then we take a backup and then use the snapshot, scan the snapshot for any malware. And the malware signatures are continuously updated to make sure we have the latest copy. That is something there. That's how we do scanning for this one, and we call it R Shield. It's part of our R Shield protection for your entire infrastructure. Thank you. Thank you very much for everybody who joined us, and hopefully it was useful.